A cold, rainy night in a small town changed everything for a struggling mechanic named Jack. On his way home, he stumbled upon a woman stranded on the side of the road, her car broken down, and her face filled with desperation. Little did he know, this small act of kindness would come back to him in the most unexpected way. A helicopter landing on his doorstep days later. Hello guys, welcome to Stories of Hope. Today, I'm thrilled to share an inspiring and emotional story that will remind us all of the power of compassion and how sometimes life surprises us in the most incredible ways. So, sit back and let's dive into this unforgettable journey of kindness and gratitude. Jack was a man of simple means. His days were spent fixing cars in his modest garage, his hands perpetually stained with grease. Life hadn't been easy for him. His wife had passed away 3 years ago, leaving him to raise their young daughter, Lily, on his own. Every day was a battle to keep the bills paid, food on the table, and Lily smiling despite the weight of their loss. That night, the rain poured relentlessly, soaking everything in its path. Jack had just locked up his garage and was driving his beat-up pickup truck home when he saw her, a woman standing by her car at the side of the road, struggling to shield herself from the downpour with a flimsy jacket. Her car's hazard lights blinked weakly in the darkness. Jack hesitated for a moment, knowing how dangerous it was to stop in such weather. But then he thought of Lily. What if it were her someday? He muttered to himself, pulling over. The woman looked up, startled, as Jack approached with his flashlight. Need some help? He asked, his voice warm despite the cold rain. She nodded, her voice trembling. My car just died. I was on my way to an important meeting. I don't know what to do. Jack inspected the car quickly. It was an old model with a dead battery and a failing alternator. It's not going anywhere tonight, he said. Seeing the panic in her eyes, he added, but don't worry, I'll help you out. Despite the rain soaking him to the bone, Jack worked tirelessly to jumpstart the car. When that didn't work, he towed it back to his garage, offering her a seat in his truck to warm up. Why are you doing this? She asked softly. Jack glanced at her, his face kind but tired. Because someone once helped me when I was at my lowest. Sometimes we just have to pay it forward. At the garage, Jack worked late into the night to repair her car. The woman, who introduced herself as Sarah, insisted on waiting. She offered to pay, but Jack shook his head. It's on the house. Just promise me you'll get home safe. By the time he finished, it was well past midnight. Sarah thanked him profusely, her eyes glistening with gratitude. I don't even know how to thank you, she said, handing him her business card. If you ever need anything, please call me. Jack smiled faintly, pocketing the card without a second thought. To him, it was just another night of doing the right thing. He had no idea how much that small act would change his life. The rain had stopped by morning, but Jack's thoughts kept returning to the woman he'd helped the night before. He didn't expect anything in return. It wasn't in his nature to help people for rewards. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something unusual about her. Her car was older, but her demeanor, the way she carried herself, hinted at a life far removed from the small town Jack called home. The next day was business as usual at the garage. Jack worked on a broken-down truck while Lily sat in the corner of the office, coloring in a notebook. She was Jack's reason for everything he did, and though he struggled to provide, he made sure she always felt loved and safe. As the days passed, Jack forgot about Sarah. Life moved on, and so did his focus, until the morning he heard a loud, unmistakable noise outside his house. It was just after dawn, and Jack had been sipping coffee on his porch while Lily played with her doll. The sound of a helicopter filled the air, its blades slicing through the quiet of the small town. Jack frowned, setting his mug down. Helicopters weren't common in their area. The closest city was miles away. He stepped off the porch, shielding his eyes, as the sleek black machine descended into the field just beyond his driveway. "Daddy, what is that?" Lily asked, clinging to his leg. "I don't know, sweetheart," Jack said, his voice cautious. He placed a protective hand on her shoulder as the helicopter landed, its engine roaring before finally settling into silence. The door opened, and a man in a sharp suit stepped out, his polished shoes glinting in the sunlight. Jack's instincts kicked in. This was no ordinary visitor. The man approached with purpose, his expression calm but serious. "Mr. Jack Bennett?" the man asked, extending a hand. Jack hesitated, then shook it. "That's me. What's this about?" The man smiled faintly. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Robert, and I work for Sarah Lawson. She's asked me to deliver an important message and a gift." Jack blinked, stunned. "Sarah? The woman I helped the other night?" Robert nodded. "That's correct. Mrs. Lawson was deeply moved by your kindness. She's not just a regular person, Mr. Bennett. She's the CEO of Lawson Enterprises." Jack's jaw dropped. He'd heard of Lawson Enterprises, a multi-billion-dollar corporation that owned everything from tech companies to luxury hotels. The idea that the soaking wet woman he'd helped in the rain was its head seemed almost laughable. I didn't know," Jack stammered. "She didn't expect you to," Robert said, "but your selflessness left a profound impact on her. She's a firm believer in rewarding those who go out of their way to help others. That's why she's asked me to personally deliver this." Robert gestured toward the helicopter, where another man was carrying a large envelope and a small box. When Jack opened the envelope, his hands trembled. Inside was a deed to a brand new garage, located in the heart of the city where business would undoubtedly thrive. "I don't understand," Jack said, staring at the papers. "Why would she do this?" Robert smiled. "Because you reminded her of something she nearly forgot, that there are still good people in the world. She wanted to give you an opportunity to grow your business and create a better life for yourself and your daughter." Tears welled in Jack's eyes, but before he could speak, Robert handed him the small box. "There's one more thing," he said. Inside was a check for $200,000. Jack's breath caught in his throat. I can't accept this," Jack said, shaking his head. "This is too much." "She insists," Robert replied gently. "She knows what it's like to struggle, and she believes in paying it forward. This isn't charity, Mr. Bennett. It's gratitude." Jack stood there, overwhelmed, as Lily tugged at his hand. "Daddy, are we rich now?" Days turned into weeks, but Jack still found himself in disbelief every time he stepped into the spacious new garage Sarah had gifted him. It wasn't just a workplace, it was a dream come true. Equipped with state-of-the-art tools and enough space for a team of mechanics, it was nothing like the small, run-down shop he had worked in for years. Business boomed almost immediately. Customers flocked to the new location, drawn by the buzz surrounding Jack's Garage, a name that had quickly become synonymous with kindness and quality service. But despite the success, Jack remained humble. He still worked long hours, his hands still stained with grease. For him, the greatest joy wasn't the money or the fancy equipment. It was knowing he could finally give Lily the life she deserved. One evening, as Jack was closing up the shop, he noticed a sleek black car pull into the lot. His heart skipped a beat. He recognized the car immediately. It was Sarah's. She stepped out, dressed impeccably, but with the same warmth in her eyes that Jack had seen on that rainy night. "Mrs. Lawson," Jack said, wiping his hands on a rag as he approached her, "I don't know how to thank you. she smiled. "Jack, please call me Sarah, and you've already thanked me. More than you know." Sarah looked around, taking in the bustling garage. "You've built something incredible here," she said. "But I didn't come just to see the shop. I wanted to share something with you." Jack furrowed his brow, intrigued. "What is it?" Sarah hesitated, her usual confidence giving way to a vulnerability Jack hadn't seen before. "You see, Jack, when you found me that night, I wasn't just stranded. I was lost, in every sense of the word." Jack listened intently as Sarah continued. "My life looks perfect from the outside," she said. "The wealth, the success, it's what everyone dreams of. But what people don't see is the emptiness that comes with it. I'd been so consumed by my work, by building my empire, that I forgot what truly mattered. That night, I was driving back from a meeting where I was supposed to finalize a deal that would make my company even bigger. But I was miserable." Her voice broke slightly, and she took a deep breath. "When my car broke down, I felt like it was a sign, a reminder that no amount of money or success could fix what was broken inside me. And then you appeared." Jack's throat tightened. He wasn't sure what to say, so he simply nodded, encouraging her to go on. "You didn't know who I was, and you didn't care," Sarah said. "You helped me without expecting anything in return. That kind of kindness is rare, Jack. It reminded me of who I used to be, someone who believed in helping others, in making the world better. You gave me something I hadn't felt in years. Hope." Jack felt his eyes sting with tears. "I was just doing what anyone should do," he said softly. Sarah shook her head. "No, Jack. Most people wouldn't have stopped, especially not in the middle of a storm. What you did changed the course of my life, and I knew I had to do something to repay that kindness, not just for you, but for myself. Helping you gave me a purpose I hadn't felt in years. So thank you." Jack was speechless. He had thought he was the one receiving a gift, but now he realized it went both ways. Sarah's gratitude wasn't just about money or buildings, it was about rediscovering herself. Before she left, Sarah handed Jack an envelope. "One last thing," she said with a smile. Inside was a letter offering him a partnership in Lawson Enterprises, a chance to expand his business and train young mechanics from underprivileged backgrounds. Jack's hands trembled as he read the letter. "Sarah, this is too much. I'm just a small-town mechanic." "No," Sarah said firmly. "You're a man with a big heart. That's what the world needs more of." As Sarah drove away, Jack stood there, the weight of her words sinking in. His life had changed, yes, but so had hers. And in that moment, he realized something profound. True wealth wasn't about money or success. It was about the connections we make, the lives we touch, and the hope we give to others. That night, as Jack tucked Lily into bed, she looked up at him with wide, innocent eyes. "Daddy, are we happy now?" Jack smiled, brushing her hair back. "We were always happy, sweetheart. We just didn't know it." And that, my friends, is the story of how one act of kindness can create a ripple effect that changes lives. Jack and Sarah's story teaches us that even in the darkest moments, a little compassion can light the way. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more inspiring tales of hope, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Hope. Let's keep spreading kindness, one story at a time.